Hello and welcome. Thank you so much for joining me today. So today I'm going to talk about the club era. The club era. I don't even want to put a period of time on it. I thought I understood magic history pretty well, but here's what happened. I'm reading Classic Correspondence. Classic Correspondence. I point back here because these are my Classic Correspondence books back here. All but Volume 3, because I'm actually still looking at that. Volume 3. So I'm reading Volume 3, and I'm reading again. I've mentioned this before, but you know what you get in the Classic Correspondence books are letters that were written from one magician to another, or from one performer to another, or someone involved in the art of magic. It might have been dealers, but they're incredibly valuable from a historical point of view. Mike Caveney has compiled these in hardback form. He gives you the letter, he gives you commentary on the letter, and he gives you annotated footnotes. And in one of the footnotes, for a letter, I think that the letter was from Lloyd Jones to Dave Fiscus. Mike Caveney references what he called the club era. And I looked at that and I thought, well, okay. Now you had the golden age, right? You had the golden age, which was the age where you had the full-scale illusion show, the evening show. It might have been 2-3 hours long. And it might have rolled into town on a boxcar, or it might have come by many trucks coming into town, and the front people would come and they would canvass the town with these huge posters, which are now incredibly collectible and valuable. And so you'd have the whole town coming out to the theater to watch the big show. That was the golden age, folks, and it was really made possible because you had railways. You had the industrialization of the city, so you had a middle class with leisure time. And with their leisure time and expendable funds, they had the means, they had the money, they had the time to go to the theater and enjoy. So you had this happening. And then you had vaudeville evolving out of the golden age, vaudeville. And then you had the cinema coming in and sort of displacing magicians. And my emphasis in the past historically has been on the ghost show, because what many of the illusionists did was they adapted their show so that they could go in and perform between movies, or in advance of a movie, or after a movie. So that's where the ghost show evolved, because you had great performers like Bill Neff coming in and doing a show prior to a midnight horror film. But around this time, where television hadn't quite come into being yet, the movies were dominant, there was a decline in vaudeville, what you had were performers that had found their way into the nightclub. And for some reason, when I read this in Classic Correspondence, I had never seen it as a historical genre before. But when Mike Caveney referred to it as the club era, I realized this is an epic. This is a period of time that we might never see again. And so I wrote to Mike Caveney. And I said, I encountered this in your book, and I wanted to ask you about it. And I asked him a series of questions, and he wrote me back. Thank you so much, Mike. I appreciate that you took the time to write me back. But I'm going to read to you exactly what he said, because I want to get it on film. I want to get it on tape. I want to record it. He said, "Dear David, after the demise of vaudeville, nightclubs and hotel floor shows became very popular. Nightclubs and hotel floor shows. The conditions were very difficult, with the performer being 3/4 surrounded by the audience and the band sitting behind them. In other words, you're surrounded. So you've got a band behind you, you've got audience members here, audience members here, and audience members here. That's the club environment. You're literally standing on a dance floor. Having to carry their props out to the middle of the performing area and get them off for the next act dictated the kind of act that you could do in a club setting. Many performers left the business entirely, but others adapted and flourished. Television had a lot to do with the end of the nightclub era. It became too easy just to sit home and watch the big stars on TV in your living room, a la Ed Sullivan, right? Who was marching magician after magician out, and people could watch that entertainment at home. But there were many successful acts, including Marvyn Roy, Channing Pollock, Jack Kodell, Dell O'Dell, and Jack Gwynne. Now, curiously, Mike Caveney did not mention Robert Harbin. But Robert Harbin was a club performer. He walked out to the center of a dance floor and performed literally surrounded. He was in love with an illusion called the seeing through a woman illusion. It goes by many other names. Thurston originally did it, where a person goes into a cabinet, blades are inserted, the cabinet's open, and she has no middle. Well, the secret of that particular effect requires deep stage. You cannot do it surrounded. But he wanted to do it surrounded. So his ingenious mind came up with an effect called the zigzag girl illusion. Probably the most versatile, the most practical sawing illusion that has ever been created. And we have it because of the club era. So Robert Harbin was certainly someone who excelled in the club era. Marvyn Roy's book, now this is what Mike Caveney is saying, Marvyn Roy's book, Mr. Electric Unplugged, provides a great peek into this world. It is currently out of print. Sorry guys, but it is available. You can still get it on eBay and places like that. So folks, I just wanted to get this out there. My look back in history has tended to focus on the Midnight Ghost Show because that's where my resonance is. But the club act, man, the club act, the whole club period. I'm going to be doing more research in the area, and maybe we'll talk more about it. Thank you so much for joining me. Please subscribe down below if you've not done so already, and please comment. I love your comments. Have a great day.